I'm here with Haraz Gambari, Head of Military Services at the University of Toledo, and today we'll be asking him a few questions about what he does and his military service. So, want to go and say hi?
Well, thanks for having me today.
Yeah. Okay, today I would like to ask you, it's just like, why did you want to join the military?
Well, our military is really as diverse as America itself. There's every walk of life and background that make up our military. And for me, it was really a couple reasons. One, it was about service to a cause much greater than my own. My family have served in the military, and generation after generation, men and women have raised their hand and they've gone off in faraway lands and to protect and defend this Constitution and what it stands for. And it's my generation's time to step up to the plate. And so I enlisted at the age of 17 years old and served now in the Army and the Navy, and I've got 15 years of military in so far.
What did you do after your tour of duty was through?
Well, I've been deployed twice, actually 3 times, twice overseas. First time was back in Bosnia, 2001. Came back from Bosnia in early part of 2002 and went back to school. Several years later, when I was commissioned into the United States Navy and deployed to Afghanistan, I came back and went back to my civilian job in Washington, D.C., where I worked at the Associated Press. I was a member of the White House Pentagon Press Corps. So going back to traveling with the President, last year when I was recalled to active duty, I came back here to the University of Toledo, where I currently serve as the Director of Military and Veteran Affairs.
So you just kind of fell into this job? Or did you know exactly what you were going to do? Because you told me that you were also served as a photographer in the military.
Right. So the reason I was interested in coming to the University of Toledo is because there's a lot of folks that have some transitional challenges when they come back from their service. My family grew up in Ohio. This is where we wanted to raise our families. And for my wife and I, we knew that coming back would be an opportunity to help other servicemen and women and their families as they transition from military service to the classroom and beyond. University of Toledo is not by a big military installation like some of our other bases around the country. Have a lot of robust transitional capabilities to help with some of those needs, whether it be mental health, spiritual, mental, physical needs, financial needs. We don't have that here in Toledo, so this is really an opportunity to come back and work with our community partners throughout the community to step up to the plate and help our men and women that have time and time again have been deployed downrange. And they come back to middle America, whether it be in higher education, earning their college degree, or working at their church, or at the bank, or at the police department or fire department. We really needed someone that could kind of bring all the key ingredients together and make sure that our veterans have the resources that they need and when they need them.
Amazing. So how many people, ballpark, do you think that you help a year here at the University of Toledo?
I can't really put a number on that, but I can tell you that the services that we provide aren't just for our students here on campus. I firmly believe that our commitment to veterans must extend beyond the sidewalks and the boundaries of our physical campus at 2801 West Bancroft Street. So whether that be a World War II veteran, a Vietnam veteran, Korean Air veteran, really anyone that has ever served this country that needs some help, we are that education piece. But again, at the end of the day, we have a lot of community partners, partner closely with the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Health Science Campus. So I can't really put a number on that, but I know that what we are doing day in and day out is definitely making an impact for our service members, veterans, and their families.
So where do you see yourself in the future with military services on campus? Do you plan on staying here at the University of Toledo?
I can't really answer that question right now. What I would say is that I take every day as it comes. I know that there's a lot of work to be done here in the community, continuing to strengthen our partnerships, continuing to help our students on their path towards their higher education degree. But again, at the end of the day, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't think I'd be leaving the White House Press Corps to come to Toledo, Ohio, and work with veterans every day. Although I knew that I wanted to be able to help others because I've been in their shoes before where I didn't know where to turn to. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy within our government. And if there's something I can do to help our servicemen and women and their families navigate that bureaucracy or lessen that burden for them, that's something that I'm committed to doing.
Okay. So do you have any wild stories you could probably share with our audience about your military service? Like, is there something that you've seen out there that really took you by surprise?
Well, it's a bit cliche-ish, but it's been said that war is hell, and I can describe it as that. I arrived in Afghanistan on Christmas Eve of 2010, and within a few days I was over at the Roll 3 Hospital photographing a Purple Heart recipient being pinned with his Purple Heart medal for injuries he sustained in an IED blast. And the next day, one of his troops was carried in a transfer case. His body was being loaded onto an airplane to be sent back home on his final journey. So, war's not pretty. I very much look forward to the day where our military men and women can hang up their uniforms and we can have peace on earth. Very much look forward to the day where our families don't have to sacrifice as much as they do to enable us to answer our nation's call to duty, when we need to deploy around the world, whether that be on a moment's notice or with a little bit of lead time.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and talking to me. I really do. You've taught me a lot, actually. I didn't really know you did all of this. It's pretty amazing what you can actually do for our military veterans and everything like that. I'm a firm believer. I love this country. I love the people that serve for this country. It's a hard job. Not everybody can do it, trust me. So I'm glad that we have a person like you that can take them and help them get an education, or just in general make sure that they're taken care of,
Well, I appreciate that. It's quite humbling to hear the stories of our students here on campus that have served in the military. Quite possibly you could be sitting in class with someone that is a Purple Heart recipient or someone that is a Bronze Star with Valor. We have Gold Star families on campus whose loved ones gave their last breath in defense of this nation, and their loved ones are no longer with them. So there's that empty seat around the dinner table. And they're doing what they can to continue to put one foot in front of the other, to come to the University of Toledo and get an education, and to go back out into the communities like our World War II veterans did when they came home. That's a generation of men and women that came back and built our communities from the ground up. They reinvested in our infrastructure. There's a reason that they're called the greatest generation. Right. And our generation is continuing to follow in their footsteps. And I'm in awe every day over the stories that I hear from those that come into our office seeking their education benefits, taking time to learn about their goals and their struggles, where they've been, where they've gone, where they want to go, and how they want to get there. So, I often encourage folks to be purposeful in their engagement with veterans, challenge them to invest in a simple cup of black coffee and just sit down with that service member, veteran, or family member and say, tell me a little bit about your journey and how can I help you achieve the goals that you've set out for yourself. And I think as a community, when we take time to dialogue with others that may have had different experiences than we do, oftentimes we are quite impressed and inspired by the service and the sacrifice of those everyday Americans like you and I that have answered our nation's call to service. And if there's something that I can do, whether that be help them along their journey or just be a sounding board for them or get them tied into some benefits and services that they may need, that's definitely a win-win for everyone involved.